I got good news for you. Ryan Day's coaching errors can be fixed.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Tuesday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Tuesday, October 15th in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with 200,000 bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ryan Day has done a lot of winning as the Ohio State head football coach. A lot of winning since 2019 until now. He probably has the best win-loss record of any coach in the sport. At the same time, Ryan Day has struggled to beat the best teams in the sport. Had a loss to Bama in the Natty, had a loss to Georgia, has 3 losses to Michigan, multiple losses to Oregon, and people are wondering, will Ryan Day ever fix the issues in his coaching? Because some of them are glaring, some of them are smaller, but no matter if it's a big issue or a small issue, y'all, those issues can be fixed. I think that's an easy thing to say about Ryan Day, especially when some of it is late game clock management, when some of it is personnel on the field, when some of it is, well, trying to overcome injuries or you're pushing the wrong button. Some of those things are what we're talking about with Ryan Day, and that can be fixed, man. Ryan Day ain't been coaching for a very long time. Oh, it's his year 6 for him. And when you've only been doing something for 6 years, what are you going to find? In year 6, you're still going to have a lot of issues, from personnel to coaching to maybe I kept that guy around a little bit longer than I should have, to maybe I have the right guy, I just got to push him a little bit further. Whatever it might be, Ryan Day is realizing in real time, we didn't do what we did against Georgia as far as some plays that were called, but even then in this moment, we didn't handle it correctly. Also, let's keep this in context. This is coming on the heels of Ohio State's 1-point loss to Oregon, a team that beat Ohio State in 2021 with the same margin of defeat as Ohio State lost to Georgia in the Peach Bowl a few years ago. So there's a lot of things happening that make this loss really, really sting. Ryan Day is a competitor. Ryan Day is a guy that gives his all to being the Buckeyes football coach. And I can only imagine what it was like for him at that night or now on a Tuesday as he is trying to recover and move forward after that loss, where I said it on yesterday's show, and I'll say it again, Ohio State played good enough to beat Oregon. Oregon literally left points on the field. Oregon did some things that were unconventional. Ohio State also did some things that they didn't normally do. If you give Ohio State's normal game plan between the run and the pass and it being more efficient on the run side, Ohio State wins that game. Even with the 8 penalties, even with the injuries, Ohio State was in a position with all of these different obstacles that they either overcame or they did not overcome. Ohio State was in a spot to win the game. It just didn't happen. Now, going forward, Ryan Day must figure things out. I don't think Ross Bjork is going to be a guy that's going to fire Ryan Day right now. However, I do believe Ryan Day cannot just take this loss and say, oh, we're good, we ain't got to learn from it. That would be the wrong approach, and that would be an approach that will lead you to losing more games this year, losing multiple regular season games, I believe, for the first time in Ryan Day's no, it will be the second time. First time was in 2021. Don't like reliving that moment, but it's what happened. Ryan Day needs to fix a lot of stuff, and I believe he can. I 100% believe he can. You're in year 6. Think about what you have done. Maybe in your career, let's say year 7 through 10, you really started to get the ball rolling, really started to be really successful. You were financially successful before, but now all of a sudden, year 7, 8, 9, 10, as you're in your sales job, you're realizing, oh, that's when things really started clicking. That's when the money really started rolling in. That's when those errors that I had for multiple years were no longer errors. They were things that were fixed. That's where things started to get in stride for me. That could be Ryan Day realistically. Because if everything was the same against Oregon and Ryan Day just altered literally the final 35, 34 seconds of the game, Ohio State wins it. Yeah, could Oregon have brought 12 guys on the field or not? Yeah, that could have happened. But realistically, you're on your own, 28-yard line? It was really, you were already in field goal position. All Ohio State had to do was run the ball. Fielding, where do you want the ball? Okay, you want it on that hash? Okay, cool. If you don't get it on the first time or the right spot, run it again. No huddle, run it again. Call timeout with 3 seconds left, 2 seconds left, whatever. Put them back on the field and kick that thing. I mean, realistically, what we're talking about is a bad coaching error, bad clock management, not just from Will Howard, but from Ryan Day as well. It's fixable. These things are fixable. And that should give everybody a little hope about what's going to happen the rest of the year. 12-team playoff, 14 playoff for the BCS. Ohio State wasn't eliminated from postseason play. I don't think anybody believed that. When I say postseason, how about the playoff? Buckeyes are going to make a bowl game. Like, no one's really in doubt as saying they're not going to be bowl eligible to play in the postseason. So, just for context, when I say postseason, we're talking about, the playoff part, not the bowl part, because the bowl part's expected. The playoffs is expected too. Ohio State's still going to be there at the end of the day. Now, I am a little bit more concerned about the trip to Happy Valley. I still have a level of concern with Michigan, but it's more psychological than things that are not Ohio State not having a better team. I think Ohio State has a better team if there was no psychological hurdle. Ohio State beats Michigan by 35 points, man. Like 30, 35 points. Like, it's going to be a blowout. It should be. And I may be a little bit harsh to say that large of a margin of victory because of how good Michigan's defense can be. But if you see Michigan play, they're not good, man. That's not a good brand of ball they're playing. Quarterback situation isn't good. Defensively, they need you to do too much to keep the team intact. It's not a good football team. So Ohio State should, realistically, they have an opportunity to blow the Wolverines out. I mean, smooth out. Ryan Day, call Urban Meyer again. Call Jim Tressel again. Call everybody you called in the offseason as Ryan Day made the rounds with the phone calls trying to get some advice how to get to a very pivotal season for Ohio State. Make that same string of phone calls again. You ain't playing no ball this weekend. You got a bye week. You want to get back at it, prepare for Nebraska in full force next week. Take some time to make some phone calls. Call Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer first. Ask them what they would do in the situation. Because I do believe the thing about Meyer and Tressel is that they still believe in helping coaches, especially the head ball coach at The Ohio State University. And Tressel's been around a whole lot. Urban Meyer is just a phone call away. Get some tips. They have won national championships. Tressel won at Ohio State. Tressel won at Youngstown State. Urban won at Ohio State. Urban won at Florida. They have won multiple. They have been in your shoes before. They have struggled with late game situations. They have struggled with things in game that normally work at home or normally work in a regular environment. But all of a sudden, in a massive road test, it just doesn't work. They have been there. Utilize your resources. They're in your back pocket, maybe your front pocket, wherever you keep your cellular device. They're right there to help you. Use your resources, and let's watch Ryan Day fix his errors, start to get the ball rolling, start to get things going, so that, hey, we're not nervous about this trip to Happy Valley. We're not worried about playing Michigan, even though there might be a psychological battle. Not worried about whoever you face in the playoff, because Ryan Day is tapping into his resources and fixing all of the issues that he currently has right now as a coach. It can happen, trust me. And some of them are not things that happened with players on the field. Some of them are things that happened with defensive coaches on Saturday night, and it all goes back to how Jim Knowles is leading this unit. And is Jim Knowles dropping the ball right now? I'll answer that question next. This episode is brought to you by Roy. Hey, Buckeye fans, it's time to recognize the Roy Player of the Week. So far this season, we've pulled over $10,000 to support players on Roy. Micro deposits lead to massive change. With the Roy app, you can direct your support to the athletes you love, ensuring that all funds go to the specific player you choose. Unlike collectives, you know exactly where your support is going, and you even receive exclusive content like personal videos and updates after the season. The best part, it's risk-free. If the athlete transfers or doesn't deliver the content, you get your money back. This week, I'm supporting Will Howard. I just pitched him $100, and I'd love for you to join me. Even $10 makes a difference. Let's show Will Howard the love and keep him connected to our school. Remember, pay today, celebrate tomorrow. Your support sets your team up for success. Plus, don't miss out on Roy's exciting giveaway. Win 2 tickets to a game in November. Just download Roy, create an account, and enter referral code Locked On, and you're entered. It's that easy. Already on Roy, any contribution to an athlete's campaign also gets you entered automatically. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Download Roy now. Enjoy the NIL game with no subscription and no fees. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Roy_return on you for more info. Roy, support the players, change the game. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service is Central Ohio. And guys, check this out. Billiards Plus carries grills that have up to 30-year warranties. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. And their grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has a perfect setup for all grillers. They are family owned and operated. And when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you're talking to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. Ohio State's defense was not playing its best ball Saturday night. I think that's the best way to describe it. At the same time, the coaches didn't put Ohio State in the best situation to succeed, which kind of concerns me because Jim Knowles was hyped up, has done a great job as the DC at Ohio State. You got James Laurinaitis, you got Larry Johnson, you got Tim Walton, Matt Guerrieri. The defensive coaching staff is stacked with guys that are great at their jobs. Why in the world was what happened Saturday night still a thing? And I say, why was it still a thing? Because it was like the same old song and dance. Okay, great. Big time matchup, big time game, D-line rotation, linebackers not playing up to par, secondary having issues. Oh, Georgia, 1-point loss. What happened? Somebody got torched, got big plays down the sideline, through the air touchdown. What happened against Oregon? Hey, multiple touchdowns through the air, big plays, somebody got burnt. A little bit of deja vu. And we're not trying to have a little bit of deja vu. We're talking about Ohio State's defense when one of the leaders of this unit went behind the microphone and said, "This year is natty or bust." And that same player got torched multiple times on defense. You can't come out behind the microphone and say, "Oh, it's a natty or bust year," and then all of a sudden drop the ball. That's really embarrassing. That's not a good look for you. And it's a good way to drop down draft boards. Just say it. I ain't saying no names. Y'all know who I'm talking about. And I'm saying all that because this falls back on Jim Knowles. Just like the loss is something that Ryan Day has to answer for, the defensive performance is something that Jim Knowles has to answer for. And with Knowles having to answer for that performance, he is dropping the ball. Because there's a stat going around, and I believe it's multiple games, 2022 on, in big-time moments, that the defense hasn't forced a punt in the fourth quarter in these games that were losses. 2022 Michigan, 2022 Georgia, 2023 Michigan, 2023 Missouri, in the game 2024 against Oregon. In those games, all 5 games, the defense failed to force a punt in all 5 of those games. Also, if you were to go back and look at the total yardage in those games, except for maybe the Missouri game, it didn't go back and fact check that one, forgive me, you're going to find that the opposing offense is putting up a lot of points. So as great as Jim Knowles is as a defensive mind, he is still allowing the guys on the D-line to play that should not play. I said it the other day. Why in the world is Jason Moore in the game and go on situations, just in general in a big-time matchup? Jason Moore will be a good player, should be a good player eventually. He shouldn't be there in that situation. Why in the world do you have guys that aren't getting consistent pressure or not getting the job done consistently in the game? Why is Hero Canoe in the game before Caden McDonald? Why? Now, you may want to say, Jay, that's a Larry Johnson decision. Cool. Who is the head coach of the defense? Jim Knowles. So as much as we want to say it's on Larry Johnson, it also falls back on Jim Knowles because Knowles got to answer for it just like Larry Johnson does. Keep that in mind when we're talking about things going on with this unit. We know that Ryan Day is the head coach, but there's a position coach and a coordinator. Both have to answer for this decision. And that's one thing when Ryan Day sees that and he's allowed it for a while, you got to stand up and say, no, we can't do that no more. I don't care if y'all are feuded. I don't care if y'all on the same page. It don't really matter, baby. We can't do that no more because what we're currently doing ain't working. And why would you continue to do something that's not working? That's foolish. That don't make no sense. And what we have seen so far from the D-line rotation, baby, it don't make no sense. Somebody, I don't know if it was on Twitter or if it was somewhere else in a comment that was talking about benching Denzel Burke for Jermaine Matthews Jr. Now, Jr. put a tweet out that I think he since deleted in regards to his emotions after the game. Burke was getting torched. I mean, it was bad. It was real bad. I don't know if I've ever seen Denzel Burke get beat that bad multiple times in the game. I don't know. But I do know that if Jim Knowles had decided to bench Burke and he put Jr. in, what's to say it may be the same result? Because I don't know. What if it's Hancock on the outside and Burke in the slot? I wouldn't make that move at all. But what if that's the move? What if at some point in time you put Hancock outside, Burke is not on the field, you put Styles in the slot, and you bring in another linebacker? That can literally happen. I mean, Ohio State has the things they can do, but Knowles is dropping the ball. Remember when Jim Knowles was hired and people were talking about that jack position coming into Ohio State's defense and being a great tool for Knowles to utilize, more of a defensive end linebacker hybrid where you're a stand-up at a two-point stance, you're rushing a little bit, you might line up outside one play, you might line up in the B-gap one day, you might line up head up, nose in the center one day, whatever it might be. You're so versatile. It makes the job of the opposing quarterback so much harder. Ohio State has even recruited players for the jack position. Some may CJ Hicks, some may say Arvell Reese, whoever it might be. There are guys on the team currently that can utilize that position. And I say Jim Knowles is dropping the ball. I'm thinking about this one thing. Why has the jack position not been utilized? It will be a great tool, especially the game against Oregon, the number 3 team in the land where y'all ain't getting no pressure. Now, I believe PFF has a grade that says Ohio State had pressure on 40% of Oregon's dropbacks. I didn't see it. I didn't see 40%. Oregon drops back 10 times. Ohio State's getting pressure for those 10. Baby, I didn't see that. And I don't think your eyeballs did either. Now, maybe you did and I did not, and we are seeing the same thing, and my eyes are just gauging pressure different than yours. I don't know, but, baby, I didn't see it. You got tools, man. You got tools in the bag. One, why is your defense giving up that many points in multiple big-time matchups? That ain't good enough. And then number 2, why are we not using the jack position? Because, baby, that needs to be utilized. I don't know why I'm saying that word so much, saying baby so much. I don't know, but this is Ohio State. We're talking about the same thing over and over and over and over and over. It's the same old song and dance here once again. It causes a lot of confusion in your boy's head because I'm tired of saying the same thing year after year after year. Something got to change. Ryan Day got to change. Jim Knowles got to change. And unfortunately, Justin Frye has to make some changes to the offensive line due to injury. And he is about to embark on a big time test. Will he answer it? Will he pass? I'll answer that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Once again, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All the action goes down on the FanDuel Sportsbook app and at FanDuel.com. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every single day. Unfortunately, the injury bug is starting to creep back into the Ohio State football team on Saturday night. The Buckeyes had Josh Simmons go down. You had Tega Shabola go down. You had Will Kazmarek go down. People were wondering about Quinshon Judkins. He is fine. But that's 4 players. Very concerning when 3 of the 4 are mainly offensive line, but Will Kazmarek's a tight end, but he does do a lot of blocking. So I say mainly an offensive lineman. But 2 of them are O-linemen, Integra Shabola and Josh Simmons. Shabola went back to the game and then came out 2 plays later. Really, on those 2 plays he was in, he didn't do a lot of good. But then Simmons is the one that might be out for the year. That's a big, big, big blow. And as Zid Mahalski came in and did a great job at a backup role, all eyes are back on Justin Frye. We talked about earlier in the year about how the O-line had played and talked about that's a great recruiting tool for Justin Frye, who is desperate to gain some traction on the recruiting trail to bring more elite offensive linemen to Columbus, Ohio. Well, right now, another recruiting tool that he has is, can he figure out a way to replace Josh Simmons and to figure out that right guard spot going forward throughout this year? Because if you could figure out the right guard spot in season and then get that left tackle spot, whoever the backup is, make sure that thing is solid. If I'm a recruiter around the country and I see how Justin Frye is working with these guys and coaching them up and working on the fundamentals and making sure they're ready for the moment, I would almost be compelled to view Ohio State as a realistic option for me to play football down the road, which is what you need. You need these moments. Justin Frye needs these this year drastically as a recruiter. Drastically. Because even if the offensive line plays out of their minds this year, wins the Joe Moore Award, or does not win any award for the offensive line play that they have this year, you got to figure something out on the recruiting trail. Because you could develop guys in Columbus and at the same time struggle to get them to come to Columbus. That's where we currently are. Now, offensive linemen, it's a different group to recruit than others because you may think, oh, I got that guy in the bag. He's coming here no matter what. And all of a sudden you realize, no, he's not coming here no matter what. The button I thought I needed to push for him was not the button I needed to push for him. He needed to push the Y button, and I was pushing the B button. Why? Because that's what I thought we needed to do. But ultimately, you didn't push the right button. But now if you figure out and if you're working with these offensive linemen, what are the young guys going to see? Frye was under fire for a little bit, and all of a sudden he righted his wrong. He got the ship going in the right direction, and that O-line at Ohio State's getting multiple guys drafted in this upcoming draft, and we'll get multiple guys drafted down the road, and it's all due to the work of Justin Frye. I think Justin Frye can get the job done. I wouldn't have said that in the offseason. I was losing faith in Justin Frye, the recruiter and the developer of talent. And then I remember, even though that DeJuan Jones wasn't here for a very long time with Justin Frye, he credits Justin Frye for his development as an offensive lineman. When I think about guys like an Ian Moore or the Armstrong twins or anybody else that's local, Yeah, they may be trying to go to Ohio State no matter what, but you're not just going to go to Ohio State to wear the scarlet and gray. Some guys will, but some guys want to wear that, but also want to play for a coach that will develop them, that will work with them, that will grind with them. That's Justin Frye. For Ryan Day as well, this all goes back to him. From fixing his issues to the stuff that Jim Knowles has not consistently done to the offensive line issues and injuries right now. All this goes back on Ryan Day. If Ryan Day fixes his errors, if Ryan Day figures out how to get Jim Knowles to not drop the ball, if Ryan Day can help Justin Frye with his offensive line stuff, if Ryan Day can figure all of that out, those are steps in the right direction. That's the head coach saying, I'm not just an offensive guy, or I'm not just trying to be a CEO that sits in his office all day and then does not interact with everybody else. I want to be the CEO that's right there in the trenches with everybody else. I want to be the CEO of the football program that people can lean on, that people can trust, people can approach me and ask me questions. That's the kind of CEO that Ryan Day wants to be. And if that's what he wants to be, a lot of the stuff we're talking about right now, it'll get fixed. It'll be okay. And ultimately, moving forward against Nebraska, then against Penn State, and I know the final month of the year, I don't know all of the correct order, but you got Northwestern and Wrigley Field, you got IU and Purdue coming to Columbus, and you also have the team up north coming to Columbus. And if Ohio State fixes all their issues, not only will all of those be wins, they'll be convincing wins. There is a website that I follow. I've subscribed to it for weekly emails a few years ago now. And every weekend after a game, I get an email on a Sunday with stats comparing Ohio State stats versus the stats of the Buckeyes' next opponent. And as it stands right now, this site believes Ohio State in the regular season, of course, it's a computer, but it believes that Ohio State in the regular season will be 10-2. Of course, they're rounding based off their metrics, but 10-2. Prior to the Oregon loss, it was 10-1. That one was a trip to Happy Valley. Now there's already a one, and now it's 2. If Ryan Day fixes all of this stuff, the Penn State week, that site via their algorithm might say 10-1, or 11-1, as the projected win-loss record of Ohio State this year in the regular season. Because the boys are fixing everything, getting everything right. Penn State's a really good football team, but Ohio State has enough to beat them. Got to fix the O-line stuff. But if they fix that, there's the stuff on defense, the Buckeyes should have no problem getting past future opponents in their Big Ten schedule. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Craig Sheeman puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Buckeye fans, up out of here on a Tuesday. We'll see you next time.